First and foremost, it's a special place to be in when you've won back-to-back championships. And not everyone gets to say that they get to experience that in their coaching career. And the fact that we were able to do it in the first 3 years is really special. And so the pressure is there. It's real. We feel it every single day. And it's my job and our staff's job to figure out how we can not make it bigger than what it is. And we talk a lot about if we win a championship, awesome. Sun's going to come up. If we lose, sun's going to come up. And so how can we understand that in our sport we give ourselves a lot of opportunities in order to prolong our season, which is win a regular season, win a tournament championship, and play a good enough schedule to give you a chance to go to postseason. And so that's the goal right now, is how mentally tough can we be, and from there we'll see how it plays out.
Questions?
Yeah.
What do you feel like's kind of changed this time around? I feel like something's got to be different every year, but this year, what do you feel like's different the most?
Yeah, I mean, with the ebbs and flow of where college sports are in general, is it's another year, it's another new team. And every year you feel like you get a little bit of, a lead-off start, and you're like, man, we're going to take this into the next year. And then the next year you have a new team, new roster, new identity. And so it's really starting from ground zero. And I think that's been the biggest thing that I've had to really understand, and our staff's had to understand, is that last year is last year. And we are focused on what we have in front of us right now. And, I try to do a very cognizant job of not comparing to last year, and what our goals last year were versus what they are this year are going to look and feel very different. But it's a really cool place to be in. And, when I took the job, this is where I expected us to be. And, for all that to come true in such a short amount of time, my brain is very much what's next? What can we do next? And how can we take this thing to a new level that it hasn't been before?
You mentioned new team. You guys did retain, though, some of your top talent. What does that kind of say about the investment from the school and the program? Obviously, NIL is a big thing nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, for them to show that this is where they want to be, and for FAU to kind of be that destination spot for them, and to get a player like a Jessiana Moore for 4 years. You've gotten a Kylie Hammonds for 4 years, a Yanni Guzman for 4 years. Those are girls that came in at the start of this. And so for me, it's, we opened this book together, and now we get to continue to build and really see what we can build from this group. And so it's special. It's special to have people for 4 years. It does not happen very often. You're convincing people to stay. When people don't want to stay, maybe they don't like the roles, or maybe they don't like how things are done, then you have to move in a different direction. And so, yes, there's been, we've had ones that stayed, we've had ones that have gone, but ultimately the right ones are here. And that's the thing that's really special, is we have the ones that we want. We have the people that want to fight for this. We have people that want to be a part of something rare. And when we talk about building something, winning once, awesome. Winning twice, okay, you did it. Winning something 3 times in a row is rare, and rare doesn't happen often. And so to have the ability or the opportunity to do that is pretty cool.
Those new people that you have, those new additions, both freshmen and transfers, who has kind of stood out to you so far?
Yeah. They're a mess, first of all. We do not lack in personality from the transfer portal. We have 5 transfers this year, and they are so different in all their own ways. And, I'm going to start with Hannah Rivers, because she is going to be the biggest, loudest personality that you're going to find. And in her process, she says, "Are you sure you want all of this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What do you mean?" And to truly see what Hannah meant by that is every day she shows up, she brings energy, spunk, she's dancing, she's singing, she's making jokes. You've got Carson Davey, who comes from her previous school that was really successful. She started almost every game for her team, won all conference awards, was a leader. And she's going to be somebody that isn't going to be big in stature, but she gets the job done, and she fights, and she does her job, and she does it well. You've got JoJo Mulholland, who's from Ball State, who started her whole career and played leadership roles, and she's from Oviedo, Florida, so her coming back home, getting her family to come out to the games, seeing just how she's jumped right in like she's been here for a long time is really special. You've got Lily from Arizona State, who, when she swings the bat, my goodness, like, it is loud, it is aggressive, And it's really special just to see her get comfortable. And then you got Madison Insco, who we're still figuring out what do we want to do with her. And I know that sounds kind of in a negative connotation, but I mean it in a good way because she's done so well offensively, defensively, and pitching. And we really lucked out with those 5, and I give our staff credit because we do our research and we really figure out who's going to fit into this puzzle before we bring them in.
In terms of those who stayed, how big was it getting Ainsley back for another year? Your ace back, your star catcher. I mean, I could name it all, but who's kind of jumped out as a leader this year?
Yeah, leadership's this kind of funny word, right? And culture's a big buzzword. And, ultimately, when we built this foundation 4 years ago, we wanted that leadership speaks for itself. And leadership can step up in moments when you don't have to ask it. And so because people have stayed loyal to the program, because people have wanted to be here, I wouldn't say we quote unquote have captains, but every day it's someone different. And when I look around, we have 10 seniors, and just really challenging them that it's not about you, it's about us. And what is our goal? Because our goal is going to be way more special than the individual awards that you win. And so Kylie Hammonds has done a really good job. I'll be remiss if I don't talk about her. She, she just keeps getting better and better. And she's not going to be the kid that's the loudest, but she's going to do things the right way. And she's going to step up in big moments. Getting Ainsley back for that 5th year is really special. She's the one that makes us all feel comfortable. And to feel comfortable, you can do some really cool things.
And then in terms of the newcomers that have been on campus, obviously last year we have 2 or 3 freshmen that have made the impacts that they did. And then you have just as talented, if not more talented, of a freshman class coming in this year. Who are some of the girls that you've really seen through a fall ball and into today that have just really started to step up?
Yeah. We actually just joked about this on Sunday. We scrimmaged, and you for 1 second had who you thought would maybe be your starters tomorrow if you were to play a game, and you had your kids who were kind of chipping away at it and ready for that next opportunity. And it was so close. It was a 1-0 ball game, which offense I would obviously like to show up a little bit more, but I say that because we've closed the gap of talent. And usually you have a team and you have your 13 to 14 girls that are really good, and then your rest are going to kind of be role players. For us, I think the really hard part about thinking about the next week and a half is, what are we going to do? Who are we going to put out there? How is this going to flow together? And so some of the newcomers that have really stood out, McKenna Lee's done an awesome job on the mound, but Ashlyn Durkin and Madeline Bird, you're going to see innings from all 3 of them. And they're 3 freshmen. We recruited them to do this. We recruited them to be the face of the program eventually. And so to see them get comfortable and start to trust their stuff is really cool. And so those 3 are just going to play really big roles because they're pitchers. And in our game, pitching is everything. So you'll definitely see those 3.
When we were just talking to the athletes, obviously scheduling got brought up. Paradise Classic, Joe Joyce Classic, those are 2 tournaments that last year really blew up in terms of the talent that was coming in. Mm-hmm. How did those early season matchups get everything ready for when in a couple days after that we're lining up against Texas Tech and everybody else that's in our way at the
I really wanted to make a challenge, and I look at last year's schedule and I saw how that schedule alone and the fact that the girls were able to successfully complete that schedule allowed us to get into postseason. So with this senior class, I really thought, okay, we've got to figure out how we give ourselves a chance if we're not going to win the conference tournament to get in. So our schedule is really hard. It is really hard. The amount of teams that we're playing in the first 2 weeks is, if you don't have a confident team, if you don't have a confident staff, it's going to eat you alive. And for us, we have to have a goal. We have to have a mission of 1 game at a time, focus on that opponent, move to the next opponent. We can't focus on what they're doing. We have to focus on what we're really good at. And that's going to be the key to the first 2 weeks is don't focus on what everybody else is saying, who's pitching, who's on the jersey, what jersey are they wearing. It's what can we be good at and be where our feet are today.
I got to ask about the schedule because to me, I mean, they kind of caught me off guard with that response. Autumn did. I thought last year's schedule was pretty tough.
Yeah.
I look at this one, and to me, given last year, it's really not that tough. Maybe I don't know my softball. But you're kind of saying the same thing. You feel this year's initial run is tougher than last year? Clemson and Ole Miss?
Yeah, that one was your initial first 2 games, right? Your Clemson and your Ole Misses are traditionally ranked. You have an SEC and an ACC opponent. When you look at this lineup, we are going to play within the first 10 games the number 1 team in the country, number 3 team in the country, 5 team, 7 team, 24, and arguably getting votes for 26. And so whereas last year you're just facing 2 ranked teams in the first 10 games. So we are going to play 8 of our 9 P4 opponents within the first 10 games, which is really crazy. On paper, this schedule is stacked a little bit harder because when you look at, your first game's Indiana, which is a regional team from last year. Your second game is Ohio State, regional team from last year. Your third game, you've got Wisconsin, and they're all back to back to back, which was similar to last year's schedule. And then you've got Delaware, who wins their conference. You've got Stonehill, who is competing in their conference. And so you have a weekend of 5 games that it could be anybody's game depending on who you choose to put in the circle ultimately. Like, you can't just take a game off. You have to be prepared for all 5. I think it's hard. I do. I think it's really hard, but I also think having 10 seniors, if we were going to do it, this was the year to do it, to really give ourselves a chance. Because if we can make it through this first half, for conference, we're going to feel really confident. Or we're going to be really beaten up, and we're going to have to figure out how tough are we actually to overcome some things.
Coach, you guys are defending the crown, 2 championships in a row. Tough schedule, 10 returning seniors, ranked as the number 1 mid-major team in the country. How are you dealing with everything? Fitting in all the new fans, the new expectations?
Yeah.
How's everything working for you?
Well, I really need my hair colored. I have some grays because I've decided to have a lot on our plate, right? We've done a lot, and we started a new bullpen project. We've got new camera systems on our fields, right? Like, we have a new team. It's a new season. It's a hard schedule. You're a 2-time champ. But we like it. We like when things are hard. And to me, like, you don't want to just be given anything in life. And I want our girls to know, and I want our staff to know that, we want to work for this. And the ability to do something that's never been done here, right? Winning it 3 times in a row, to me, is worth it. It's worth the stress. It's worth the headaches. It's worth, figuring it all out. And so I'm really excited for this group. And, there's some hesitation because you can list on your hand how many teams actually win back to back to back. However, we have the team to do it. And that, to me, is the really special part, is to know that we have all the puzzle pieces. It's which order do we decide to put the puzzle down. And so, it's going to be a good year. It's going to be fun. It's going to be aggressive. We're going to play fast. And we're going to see what we're made of really quickly. But the goal right now is, we don't talk about what is our goal. Like, we're not going to say we have to win an American championship. We have to go to super regionals. So that's like, listening to the girls, they're a little wishy-washy because I think there's a piece of humility of, like, I don't want to say, hey, we're going to do this. Because what happens if we don't do this? Is it failure, or is it, so I'm challenging them to talk about it more, right? When I took this job, I, wanted to fix things. I wanted to change uniforms. I wanted to win championships. I wanted to recruit the best players. So sometimes you got to talk about it in order for it to happen. And so, so challenging them to get a little comfortable with, owning it and being a little confident is important for me.
And following up from that, what would your message be to the fans? Maybe people that have never seen a softball before.
Yeah.
You guys are 2-time champs.
Yeah.
So what would you say to the new fans, the returning fans?
Watching this place grow has been the most special thing. And going and seeing a new face of a little 9-year-old screaming out our girls' numbers and wearing their jerseys, it's priceless. And when you look at how much a ticket actually is, you can go $8 to $10 to watch Division I softball. To me, it is an absolute steal. These girls are role models. They are going to change the world. They're going to do special things. And to see girls compete at the highest level and to do it with passion and purpose, to me, is why wouldn't you come out and watch? And, I know time is everything. We live in a part of the country where there's so much going on. But a Friday night with the sunset, with the palm trees, and hearing our girls just get so excited for 2 hours to support each other. It's what keeps me doing this on the hard days and on the good days. I just challenge people to pour into something because it'll give you something back in return. And when you pour into FAU softball, you're going to feel fulfilled. You're going to get an experience. And so I really challenge people to, if you haven't ever seen a softball game, it's 2 hours of your life and you won't be disappointed.
Anyone else before Zoom?
I got one more.
Yeah.
Your pitching rotation last year at times, not being critical, but there were some spots where it was a little thin.
Yeah.
You kind of had to juggle around. I remember one of the games over here, you had pitchers come back through again.
Yeah.
You have another cog this year, so arguably you're deeper. How important is that? I'm piggybacking off
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah.
That gauntlet you got out of the gate.
Yeah.
How important is it to have that extra arm now?
Well, I made the gauntlet of games because I knew what we had, right? And this is the first year that I can truly say all 7 pitchers will throw. In years past, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said they're hard workers. They bring something to the table. They help us out in practice. But this is the first time that you could see all 7. And I think what you're going to see is really good matchups. So knowing that Autumn is going to be up and in. Okay, Ainsley's maybe a little slower, spinnier, can go out. They partner together really, really well. You've got a Madison Insco that's going to go down in the zone, and you've got an Ashlyn Durkin who can go up in the zone. They partner really well together. And so it's getting really creative. And we've really prepped our pitchers that, hey, you might go in for one batter, and that's it. And you have to own your role, and you have to be excited for that role versus in years past, I feel like we're disappointed if we only got to pitch 3 innings. I'm disappointed if I only got to pitch 1 inning. And I don't have time for that this year. And I've told them that if you're going to be a part of this, you're going to be excited for whatever role I give you. And if you're not excited, on to the next because we got 7. And I don't care if you're a senior or a freshman. Ultimately, you're going to have to step up in some really big moments. And we're going to ask you. So our big theme is, we're talking about being all in and bet on yourself. And are you willing to play the cards that are in your deck? Or are you going to want to try to go grab somebody else's? And so for us, we have a deck stacked, right? We have 7 aces. And we get to decide when we play those aces against other people's lower cards. And so it's important for our girls to know the confidence that I have in them to put them in those situations. But I'm excited. I'm excited for our pitchers. I've been getting mad in practice because our pitchers have been dominating our hitters. And I know we have a really good offense. But to me, it's kind of a catch-22 because that means that if they're getting our hitters out, we have some of the best hitters in the conference. So it's a really good balance at least.
I meant to ask the bet on yourself mantra this year. The girls were talking about it. How'd that come to be, and then how different is it from the Dare to Race mantra from last year?
Yeah, so I love a good theme. That's kind of like my thing, and I like to get creative with it because players 1 through 26 on our roster can pour into something no matter what your role is. And so when we think about being all in, right? I can use years and experiences. Okay, you get to regionals. And you've already got 5-6 players talking about transferring. Are you all in? No, right? You're ready for what's best for you. And if we're going to do something really special, really rare this year, we're going to need all 26 all in at all times when it gets hard. And so for me, I thought it was a good way to pull this whole thing together is, are you going to bet on yourself to actually win a regional? Or are you going to say, if it happens, cool, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And so to me, it takes a really spicy person to take all their poker chips, put it in, and say, whatever happens, happens. And that's what I want them to feel, is that we're not going to leave anything behind. And so I really started thinking about that. 10 seniors, deepest pitching staff, we've won 2 years. What do we have to lose? What do we have to lose? So why don't we go big? Why don't we go all in? And it starts from the top of, we're going to make a really hard schedule. We're going to be all in on this schedule. We're going to go play in Clearwater and play on national television. And so that's where it kind of came from, is just how do we build off of last year? And I want, no matter what your role is, that you're fully invested in this. And I think in general in college athletics, it gets a little bit of like, what do I feel? What's my role? What do I want versus what's best for FAU? And that was something that was really special to me this year.
Let's go to Justin.
Hey, Justin.
I got a couple for you.
Okay.
I got one about the pitching staff, building
Yeah.
off of what you were saying a minute ago. When you're talking about how well one complements another, or a third complements a fourth, how much of your prep ahead of time it goes into that? How much of it is feel in the moment when you're making those decisions about who to start, but also a pitching change in game mid-moment?
Yeah, I've always been a feel person. I kind of, our staff laughs. I'm whatever wakes up on my heart, and I'm like, we're doing it. And this year, we're gonna have to be a little bit more methodical with it, because I do think that the data and the analytics are out there of what works. And so you look at some of the most successful teams and how much they rely on data and analytics of what swing matches up with what pitcher and what style. So from a preparation standpoint, there's going to be a lot more cohesiveness in a sense. Like, before it's kind of like, we'll let Nicole go do the pitching, Shelby do the defense, I'll do the hitting. And, this year it's, hey, let's really like dive in and talk about this so that we really have a plan. And we can always merge if we need to go to a different plan. But you're definitely going to see a little bit more analytics to it, and trying to find holes in team swings and, how many lefties, righties they have and that kind of thing.
You talked about already a couple of the strength of that schedule in those first 2 weeks. You've also talked about, how much you close the talent gap and maybe some different lineup configurations in there.
Yeah.
How did those two marry together? Usually you would think the first couple of weeks is when you try out different things, but those are also when your hardest tests are. So how are you going to marry those two together?
Yeah, we have put these girls in every situation we possibly can in practice. We've scrimmaged, we've hit live, we've done competitions, and I tell them, look, we don't just wake up and go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, you're going to get an opportunity. And so instead, we have to go off of a body of work that we know. We're going to take a body of work from previous schools, a body of work of what they've done here as freshmen, how they've competed against our pitchers, how our pitchers have competed against our hitters, what's their body language. So it's just I'm kind of a nerd when it comes, I like to track everything. Like, I want to have, an Excel sheet full of how'd they do on this day live, how'd they do on this competition. And you can really see, okay, who are our 10 best hitters? And from there, okay, who's next up? And kind of knowing how long you're going to let somebody ride. And being open to the girls about that is, someone might get to go 0 for 25 and somebody might get to only go 0 for 3. And it's just going to be a part of it because it's a body of work and what they've been able to do in practice or in years past, that their leash is a little bit longer. But I'm a big communication person, and I want people to understand why we make decisions. And if you can understand the why, maybe not agree with the why, then you're more prone to know why we're doing it.
And then about the schedule strength, as it was going through earlier, last year some of your toughest games in the non-con were against really good mid-majors.
Yeah.
Like some of your toughest where you've had to come from behind, things like that. You've got a few of those this year. Like I look at that weekend in Conway where you've got Coastal and Binghamton, a couple of tournament teams, good tournament teams. How much do those games play in? They're not the ones that necessarily lead the card when you look at you're playing Texas Tech and Florida State, etc. But those are games where your team was tested last year and I'm sure probably got something from it. How big are those games for you this year?
Yeah, that's when I look at the schedule, like, it's sneaky hard because of those games. And those are the games you have to win. Do you want to beat Texas Tech? Absolutely. Do you have to beat Texas Tech? No. Right? And I don't mean that in a negative way that I don't think we can win, but you need to go beat a Coastal. You need to go beat a Binghamton. And those are going to be teams that win their conference. Those are going to be teams that compete. And when you win your conference, you ultimately get more points when you get that win against them. And so, and that's where the matchup and the strategy is going to come into is, okay, we've got this game before this one, but which game are we actually going for? Which one is like, hey, it's a must win, and which one's I hope we win? And it's all about how do you set yourself up on the whole weekend. So, the schedule, I think that's why like there's so much uncertainty, is because there's so much to it and there's so many to get you ready for conference, because we know that they're not a surprise anymore in conference. So how can we face every possible thing before we get to that Charlotte game?
And then last one for me, you talked earlier, you don't necessarily vocalize all your goals, but I know when we did our fall report, you mentioned, you want to do something you haven't done before, that's something you guys do talk about. What does that look like once you get into the season? You're not sitting there saying, okay, we want to win more games in the region, we want to, because that's not what's in front of you. But what does that look like once you actually get into the season and it's right in front of you?
Yeah, so we won 45 games last year, which is unreal. We were 45-12. And so I laugh with people. I'm like, okay, guys, if we go 43 wins, don't panic. Because it's going to look different. It's going to feel different. And success is defined in different ways this season. And so for us, it's, are we all in? And I know that's kind of the cheesy cliche answer, but it's like, okay, if we're dropping games, but we're all sticking together as a team, or people are understanding their roles, to me, like, we're moving this thing in the right direction. And so with that, you know, I truly believe if we can follow this theme, that we're going to sneak some games out that maybe we're not supposed to win. And so, you know, I'll be honest, like, I want to make it to a regional final. That is, if we can get to the regional final, I truly believe we have a shot to go to Supers. You can't talk about Supers if you don't make a regional final. We haven't made a regional final yet. So we can't just jump to, I want to go to Supers in the World Series. It's, hey, the next thing that we haven't done is make a regional final. The next thing we haven't done is let's get a player of the year instead of a pitcher of the year in the conference. So these are things that we can do that we haven't done yet. Can we be ranked in the top 25 all season long? It's going to be hard, but can we do it? So those are little things that we haven't accomplished. But, you know, the other thing we have not done is we haven't won a conference tournament championship. I mean, one of the newspapers wrote it as bluntly as possible. We were 2-Q, and we were, and that's on me, right? Like, I have to be better to prepare us, that instead of us being our best at the front half, which I think that's what we've been in the past, we got to be our best in the back half. And that's a goal for me, and that's something I've really pushed the kids is, I don't need you to be ready February 5th. I need you to be ready by May 9th. And if we can be ready by May 9th, we are going to do some crazy stuff this year. But we don't have to stress about February 5th.